A single dad ignored his boss's signals until she knocked at midnight and said, "You're fired." The knock came at exactly midnight. Marcus Bennett froze, his hand hovering over the coffee maker. Who would be at his door at this hour? His 7-year-old daughter Emma was asleep down the hall, and Mrs. Rodriguez from next door had left hours ago. The knock came again, more insistent this time. Heart pounding, Marcus moved to the door and checked the peephole. His stomach dropped. Victoria Chen, his boss, stood in the hallway wearing an expensive coat over what looked like designer loungewear. Her expression was unreadable, but her presence at his door after midnight could only mean one thing. This was it, the moment he'd been dreading for months. Marcus opened the door slowly. "Victoria? What are you—" "You're fired," she said, her voice sharp and cold. The words hit him like a physical blow. Marcus gripped the doorframe, his mind racing through the implications. No job, no income, Emma's school tuition, their rent, the medical bills still piling up from Sarah's cancer treatment 2 years ago. Can we do this inside?" he managed, glancing nervously down the hallway. "My daughter's sleeping." Victoria brushed past him without waiting for an invitation, her heels clicking on his cheap linoleum floor. She stood in the middle of his modest living room, looking completely out of place among the second-hand furniture and Emma's scattered toys. Marcus closed the door and turned to face her, his hands trembling slightly. "Victoria, if this is about the Morrison Project—" "The Morrison Project, the Chen account, the Waverly pitch." Victoria ticked them off on her fingers. "Should I continue?" "You've been dropping balls for months, Marcus. I know, and I can explain." "Can you?" She spun to face him, her dark eyes flashing. "Can you explain why you missed 3 client dinners in the last 2 months? Why your presentations have been mediocre at best? Why half the time you're in the office you look like you haven't slept in days?" "Because I haven't," Marcus wanted to scream. "Because I'm trying to be both parents to a grieving child. Because every night after Emma goes to bed, I work until 3 a.m. trying to make up for the time I spend being a father during the day. Because I'm drowning and I don't know how to ask for help." But he said none of that. Instead, he straightened his shoulders and met her gaze. "I understand this is a performance issue. If you'll give me another chance—" "Another chance?" Victoria laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Marcus, I've given you a dozen chances. I've reassigned your projects. I've extended your deadlines. I've covered for you with the partners. And what do I get in return? More excuses, more mediocre work." The words stung because they were true. Marcus had been failing and he knew it. Ever since Sarah died, leaving him alone with Emma, everything had become exponentially harder. He'd thought he could be the perfect father and the perfect employee, but he was neither. He was failing Emma by working too much, and failing his job by being too distracted. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "You're right. I haven't been performing at the level you deserve. But this job, I need this job, Victoria. My daughter—" "I know about Emma," Victoria interrupted. Her expression softened slightly. "I've known about your situation from the beginning. That's why I've been so patient. Then why fire me now? Why come to my home at midnight to tell me this?" Victoria was quiet for a long moment, her eyes searching his face. Then she did something unexpected. She removed her coat and sat down on his threadbare couch, crossing her legs. "Sit down, Marcus. There are things we need to discuss." Confused, Marcus sat in the armchair across from her. Up close, he noticed things he'd been too distracted to see before. The dark circles under Victoria's eyes that even makeup couldn't quite hide. The tension in her jaw. The way her hands trembled slightly as she folded them in her lap. "I fired you," Victoria said slowly, "because you're killing yourself. And I can't watch it anymore." Marcus blinked. "What? Do you think I don't see it? You arrive at the office at 7 a.m. looking exhausted. You work through lunch. You stay until 8 or 9 p.m., then go home to your daughter and work more after she sleeps. You're running on fumes, Marcus. You're going to collapse." "I'm fine." "You're not fine." Victoria's composure cracked, her voice rising. "You're not fine, and you haven't been fine since your wife died. But you're so determined to prove you can handle everything that you won't admit you need help, won't admit that you're human." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I don't have a choice. I have to provide for Emma. You have to be alive for Emma," Victoria said firmly. You have to be present for her. And right now you're neither. You're a ghost, Marcus, going through the motions but not really living. The truth of her words broke something inside him. Marcus felt 2 years of grief and exhaustion crash over him like a wave. His vision blurred with tears. I don't know what else to do, he whispered. I don't know how to be enough for her when I'm not enough for anything anymore. Victoria stood and moved to sit on the arm of his chair. Her hand touched his shoulder, a gentle, human gesture that he hadn't experienced in so long. That's why I'm here, she said softly. Not just to fire you, to help you. Marcus looked up at her, confused. I don't understand. I fired you from your current position. Tomorrow morning you'll be reinstated as Senior Creative Director. New role, new responsibilities, and most importantly, flexible hours. You'll work from home 3 days a week. You'll set your own schedule around Emma's needs. You'll have an assistant to handle the grunt work. And you'll be paid 40% more. Marcus stared at her, unable to process what he was hearing. That's a promotion. Why would you promote someone you just said was underperforming? Victoria smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed her usually stern face. Because I'm not an idiot, Marcus. I know exactly why you've been struggling, and I know that the work you've produced, even while drowning, is still better than what most of my fully rested employees create. Imagine what you could do with actual support. But the partners approved this yesterday. I've been planning it for weeks. The midnight visit was just... She paused, looking almost embarrassed. Dramatic, I suppose. I wanted to make sure you understood how serious this is. How serious I am about wanting you to succeed. Marcus felt like the world had tilted sideways. Why? Why would you do this for me? Victoria's expression grew complicated, something vulnerable flickering in her eyes. Because I've been where you are. 7 years ago, my husband left me 3 months after our son was born. Said he couldn't handle the responsibility. I was a junior partner at a law firm, working 80-hour weeks, trying to prove I could do it all alone. I had no idea, Marcus said. You have a son? Nathan, he's 7. Like Emma. Lives with my parents most of the time because I still haven't figured out the balance. Her voice cracked slightly. I made my choice, Marcus. I chose the career over being present. And I see Nathan on weekends and he's happy, but I missed so much. His first steps, his first words, his first day of school. She looked directly at Marcus and he saw tears in her eyes. I don't want that for you. I don't want you to wake up 5 years from now and realize you sacrificed your relationship with Emma for a job, even a job you're brilliant at. Marcus felt his own tears spill over. I've been so scared, he admitted. Scared that if I asked for help, if I admitted I was struggling, everyone would see me as weak, as less than. That's not weakness. That's being human. Victoria squeezed his shoulder. And I've been trying to tell you this for months. But you've been too buried in guilt and exhaustion to hear me. Marcus thought back over the past few months. Victoria asking if he needed anything. Victoria suggesting he take some vacation days. Victoria offering to grab coffee and chat about work-life balance. He'd interpreted all of it as professional courtesy or worse. Veiled criticism. I thought you were disappointed in me, he said. I was frustrated with you, Victoria corrected. Because I could see you had help available, and you were too proud or too scared to take it. Do you know how many times I wanted to just shake you and tell you to stop being an idiot? Despite everything, Marcus laughed. Is that what this midnight visit is? Shaking some sense into me? Essentially, yes. Victoria smiled again. Although there's one more thing. What's that? She stood and moved back to the couch, suddenly looking nervous. An expression Marcus had never seen on his always confident boss. The signals I've been sending, they haven't all been about work. Marcus felt his heart skip. What do you mean? I mean, Victoria took a deep breath. I mean that over the past year I've developed feelings for you, Marcus. Real ones. And I know this complicates everything. Especially now with the promotion, but I couldn't move forward without being honest about it. The confession hung in the air between them. Marcus felt a rush of emotions, surprise, confusion, and underneath it all, something that felt like hope. Victoria, He struggled for words. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything now, she said quickly. I know it's overwhelming. I know you're still grieving. Sarah, I know you need to focus on Emma. This isn't me asking for anything. It's just me being honest. Marcus looked at this woman, his boss, his unexpected advocate, and apparently something more. He thought about the past year, about the moments he'd noticed her laugh, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, how capable and strong she always seemed. He'd pushed those observations away, buried them under grief and guilt. But now, sitting in his living room at midnight, everything suddenly felt possible again. I need time, he said finally. Time to adjust to the new position. Time to figure out how to be a better father to Emma. Time to breathe. Of course, Victoria said. Take all the time you need. The promotion starts Monday. The feeling situation can wait as long as you need it to. She stood to leave and Marcus stood with her. At the door, she turned back. Marcus, one more thing.
Yes?
Emma needs to meet any woman who's going to be in your life. When we explore this, she comes first, always. The fact that Victoria understood that she prioritized his daughter without him even having to ask, made Marcus's chest tight with emotion. Thank you, he whispered, for all of this, for caring, for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Victoria smiled, soft and genuine. That's what people do when they care about someone, Marcus. They see them, even in the dark. After she left, Marcus stood in his quiet apartment, processing everything that had just happened. He'd thought his life was ending. Instead, it felt like it was finally beginning again. He checked on Emma, who was sleeping peacefully, her stuffed elephant tucked under her chin. Looking at his daughter, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years. Hope for the future. The next morning, Emma bounded into the kitchen to find Marcus making pancakes, a Saturday tradition. They hadn't observed in months because he'd always been too exhausted. Daddy, you're making breakfast. Emma threw her arms around his waist. I am, sweetheart. And I have good news. Daddy's job is changing. I'm going to be home a lot more. Emma's eyes went wide. Really, every day? 3 days a week. And when I am at the office, I'll be home by dinner, always. Promise? Marcus knelt down to his daughter's level, looking into eyes that were so much like Sarah's. I promise, Em. Things are going to be different now. Better. I'm glad, Daddy, I missed you. The simple words shattered what was left of Marcus's protective walls. He pulled Emma into a tight hug, tears streaming down his face. I missed you too, baby. So much, but I'm here now. I'm really here. Over the following weeks, Marcus's life transformed. The new position was challenging but manageable. Working from home allowed him to take Emma to school, help with homework, attend her class play. He hired a part-time nanny for the days he needed to be in the office. And slowly, he watched his daughter blossom. Victoria kept her distance professionally, but Marcus caught her watching him sometimes with a soft expression that made his heart race. They had lunch occasionally, talking about work and carefully skirting around the personal. 2 months after the midnight visit, Marcus invited Victoria to dinner at his apartment. Emma was at a sleepover, giving them time to talk without little ears listening. So, Victoria said, sitting on the couch that had witnessed her dramatic midnight confession. You wanted to talk? Marcus sat beside her, close but not touching. I wanted to say thank you. For everything. For saving my life, really. You're welcome. But Marcus, you saved yourself. I just gave you permission to accept help. I also wanted to say. He took a deep breath. I'm ready, not for anything serious right away, but I'd like to explore this, whatever this is between us. Victoria's face lit up with a smile that took Marcus's breath away. Really? Really, but slowly. And Emma has to approve of you first. That's the most important condition, Victoria agreed. When can I meet her? Officially, I mean? How about next Saturday? We could go to the zoo. Emma loves the elephants. I'd love that. They talked for hours. About their pasts, their fears, their hopes for the future. When Victoria finally left, Marcus walked her to the door. She turned to face him, and for a moment, they just looked at each other. Then slowly, Marcus leaned in and kissed her, soft and tentative, like a promise of something new beginning. When they pulled apart, Victoria was smiling. I've been wanting to do that for months. Me too, Marcus admitted. I just didn't know it until recently. The next Saturday, Marcus introduced Emma to Victoria properly. His daughter was shy at first, but Victoria won her over with patience and genuine interest in Emma's drawings and stories. By the end of the day, Emma was holding Victoria's hand as they looked at the elephants. "Daddy," Emma whispered later as Marcus tucked her into bed. "I like Miss Victoria. She's nice. I like her too, sweetheart. Do you think Mommy would like her?" The question made Marcus's eyes sting with tears. "I think Mommy would love that we're both happy and that we're not sad all the time anymore." Emma nodded thoughtfully. "I think Mommy would like her too, because she makes you smile again." That night, Marcus stood in his kitchen, the same kitchen where Victoria had appeared at midnight to fire him 2 months ago. Everything had changed since then. He had changed. He pulled out his phone and texted Victoria, "Emma approves." "So do I. What are you doing next Friday?" Her response came quickly, "Taking you on a proper date." Finally. Marcus smiled, feeling lighter than he had in years. Sometimes he thought the worst moments led to the best new beginnings. Sometimes getting fired at midnight was exactly what you needed to find your way back to life. And sometimes the person delivering the hard truth was exactly the person you needed to hear it from.